Have you ever paused and wondered why rain chooses its moment? Why each drop seems to fall exactly when it should? Imagine standing beneath a sky heavy with anticipation, feeling the first whispers of droplets brushing against the air. Tonight, we'll discover the quiet, invisible orchestra that tells rain when to fall, and how it touches every living thing along the way. Before we wander into the clouds together, take a slow, deep breath. If you'd like to share this journey, comment below where in the world you are watching from, and subscribe to The Thoughtful Night to follow along on more quiet stories of wonder. Rain is more than water falling from the sky. It is a traveler, a messenger, a gentle hand that stirs the earth's soil, awakens the scent of forests, and whispers to our hearts. In this hour, we will move through the hidden world above us, where air and vapor dance in delicate rhythms, where droplets wait patiently until gravity calls them home. As we drift through clouds, winds, and hidden storms, let your mind relax. Allow yourself to feel the gentle suspense of each droplet, suspended in invisible balance, poised to fall. We will watch rain form, grow, and finally descend. An ancient, quiet ritual that has been happening long before we existed, and will continue long after. Tonight, we are invited to witness this ritual not as scientists in lab coats, but as quiet observers, sensing, imagining, and letting ourselves be lulled by the science and poetry of rainfall. Let's begin this journey together, letting the clouds cradle us, letting each raindrop tell its story, as we learn how rain knows when to fall. Above you, beyond the reach of your fingertips, the air is alive. It hums with a quiet energy, a subtle rhythm that is almost imperceptible, yet it orchestrates the journey of every raindrop. You might think the sky is empty, that clouds are mere cotton shapes drifting lazily across the sun. But if you listen with imagination, you will hear the invisible orchestra playing a symphony of water, temperature, and motion. A symphony that begins the moment a drop is conceived. Water exists everywhere, though mostly unseen. Minute molecules float in the atmosphere, invisible dancers suspended in a vast ballroom of air. Each molecule moves with a secret choreography, colliding with its neighbors, spinning, twisting, vibrating, guided by temperature and humidity. The warmth of the earth lifts them, carrying them upward, and as they rise, the air grows cooler. Their dance slows, their motions become more deliberate, forming fragile bonds. You can picture this as an elegant waltz in 3 dimensions, molecules swaying and gathering, sometimes alone, sometimes in clusters. Humidity is the pulse of this hidden concert. When the air is saturated, it can hold no more, and condensation begins. A whisper of change in an otherwise invisible world. Tiny droplets form, delicate and perfect, each no larger than a thought, yet destined for the journey of a lifetime. Imagine a droplet as a musician taking their place in a great hall, waiting for the conductor's cue. Surface tension holds it together like a note suspended mid-air, and the surrounding molecules hum in harmony, pushing, tugging, holding. Temperature gradients, often unnoticed, are like the sheet music for this symphony. Warm air rises, cool air descends, and in the middle the dance grows richer. The molecules sense one another, subtly influencing the flow of motion. This is not chaos. It is structure hidden within randomness, a silent, guiding hand that lifts droplets skyward and holds them aloft. You can imagine entire clouds as massive orchestras, each molecule an instrument, each droplet a fleeting motif, together forming melodies that will one day descend as rain. Clouds themselves are living stages. They grow, thicken, shift, and sway with the wind. Yet within them, microworlds pulse with motion. Droplets float, attracted to one another, sometimes colliding, sometimes avoiding, each movement deliberate, purposeful. The air vibrates with these interactions, subtle but constant. You might picture the cloud as a suspended garden, where each tiny droplet is a seed, waiting for the invisible hands of gravity and condensation to guide it toward its fate. Consider how quiet this world is, despite its activity. There are no audible sounds, no crashing cymbals or banging drums. Only motion, invisible, unseen, yet entirely real. The beauty lies in the subtlety, in the delicate balances maintained between forces you cannot touch. Surface tension holds a droplet together, air resistance keeps it afloat, and the temperature difference ensures it does not dissipate too soon. The orchestra plays on, each section perfectly synchronized, each note contributing to a larger story. As you picture this, feel the air above you. Imagine it alive, dense with potential, a silent guardian of the water cycle. Each droplet is a messenger waiting to journey downward, and the cloud itself is a conductor, guiding its orchestra in perfect timing. The sky, vast and blue or gray, is more than a backdrop. It is a stage, a laboratory, a cathedral where physics, chemistry, and life come together in quiet elegance. The more you watch and imagine, the more you understand that rain is not merely water falling. It is the culmination of countless interactions, unseen yet inevitable. The invisible orchestra determines the rhythm, the tempo, and the crescendo. When the conditions align, humidity, temperature, rising air, and condensation, the droplets are ready. The symphony has played its opening movements, and the first notes of rainfall are poised to descend. Take a deep breath and let your mind drift into this micro-world above. Visualize the air as alive, a shimmering sea of molecules dancing, colliding, lifting, and merging. Picture droplets forming, growing, and floating, each participating in a delicate performance that will only end when gravity finally calls them home. You are now part of this quiet audience, a witness to an ancient, unseen concert that has echoed above every forest, ocean, and city since time began. And as your imagination settles into the rhythm of this invisible orchestra, you feel a connection, not only to the sky and the rain that will one day fall, but to the delicate harmony of forces that make life possible. Each cloud, each droplet, each molecule is a note in the cosmic song, and tonight, you are listening, letting it lull you into wonder, calm, and curiosity. The journey of rain begins here, in this symphony of the unseen, and from this point, each chapter of its story unfolds. Tiny architects, suspended droplets, storms, and whispers of water dancing across the earth. But first, you have learned to listen to the invisible orchestra, the quiet beginning of every raindrop's journey. High above, where the air feels thin and almost fragile, something miraculous begins. Invisible to your eye, microscopic travelers drift on unseen currents, each carrying a tiny promise, a scaffold upon which rain might grow. Dust from distant deserts, pollen from blooming flowers, salt from the restless ocean. All these particles rise, lifted by winds that whisper across valleys and oceans alike. These are the cloud condensation nuclei, the hidden architects of the sky, around which water will one day gather, tiny droplet by tiny droplet. You might imagine clouds as fluffy, formless beings, but in truth, they are carefully constructed assemblies, intricate beyond what we can perceive. Water vapor alone does not fall. It hovers, suspended, as though caught in an eternal dance, until it finds a partner, a surface to cling to. The world provides it in the form of these infinitesimal seeds. A speck of dust from a distant mountain, carried hundreds of miles by air currents, becomes a foundation for a raindrop. A flake of salt evaporated from a wave crashing on the shore floats upward, joining the orchestra of the atmosphere. Without these seeds, there would be no rain, only mist, invisible and lingering, heavy with untapped potential. As you imagine each particle, picture it glowing softly with possibility. Each one invites water to gather, a quiet gesture from the universe itself. Slowly, water molecules attach themselves, over and over, circling, layering, as if practicing patience. The vapor becomes liquid, the invisible becomes tangible. What was once mere humidity now coalesces into the tiniest droplets, clinging to the nuclei with delicate persistence. Every cloud, every drop, carries within it the memory of a journey across land, sea, and sky. The journey from ocean to cloud is like a story whispered across continents. Water evaporates from warm surfaces, leaving the salt behind, rising as invisible vapor, light as a sigh. From rivers and lakes, from damp soil and sweating plants, the air fills with moisture, climbing higher, cooling as it ascends. When it meets a particle, a tiny seed from earth or sea, it pauses, attaching in a tentative embrace. You can almost hear the soft exhale of the atmosphere as it accepts this union. Here, in this quiet space, a droplet learns its place, its duty in the symphony above. Not all nuclei are created equal. Some are hydrophilic, naturally attracting water, while others require a patient coaxing, a gentle accumulation of vapor before droplets will adhere. Some rise effortlessly, soaring on thermal currents, while others drift slowly, caught in eddies or swirling winds. Each one shapes the clouds differently. Some clouds will be wispy, trailing like silver ribbons across the sky. Others gather into thick, looming masses, heavy with anticipation. Yet all begin with the same quiet invitation, the same microscopic scaffolds that bridge the invisible world of vapor and the tangible world of rain. Imagine drifting among them, as if the air itself were a cathedral. The particles are columns, invisible yet essential, supporting countless droplets in their silent, suspended dance. Each droplet is fragile, yet resilient. Each seed is small, yet vital. The architecture of clouds is not rigid. It is alive, responsive to temperature, humidity, and wind. The atmosphere shapes itself around these tiny architects, a living design that balances delicacy with strength, randomness with order. Nature's quiet logic unfolds in patterns too subtle for us to detect, yet essential for every storm, every drizzle, every life-giving shower. From a distance, clouds may appear uniform, but up close, they are teeming with activity. Droplets jostle for space, bumping lightly against one another, as if rehearsing for the moment when gravity will finally call them home. Around each nucleus, the layers of water thicken slowly. Some droplets grow quickly, drawing vapor from surrounding air, while others remain minuscule, patiently waiting. This patience is crucial. The rain cannot begin until enough droplets have gathered, until the balance between buoyancy and gravity is just so. The air holds its breath, invisible hands lifting and suspending, guiding without interference, allowing the architecture of the sky to emerge. Even the tiniest seed carries a story. A grain of desert sand has traveled thousands of miles, from sun-baked dunes to high altitudes, swept upward by a gust and lifted into the domain of clouds. A pollen grain, once part of a golden meadow, now floats above cities and rivers, an ambassador of life for the water that will soon gather around it. Salt from a distant wave may have danced in the sunlight for a moment before ascending into the sky, destined to become the skeleton of a raindrop. Each of these minute architects is an essential participant in the orchestra of rainfall, a quiet yet indispensable player in the symphony of the air. As you picture this, feel the delicate tension in the clouds, the anticipation in every suspended droplet. Tiny architects build patiently, one molecule at a time, shaping the rain that will eventually touch the earth. The invisible becomes visible, the silent becomes a soft promise, and the sky itself begins to feel alive. With every seed, every particle, the story of rain writes itself in whispers and echoes, in subtle gestures and imperceptible currents, reminding us that even the smallest things can have profound influence on the world. And so, the rain begins not with a roar, but with a quiet assembly. It begins with dust, pollen, and salt, minute architects of the sky, inviting water to dance, to gather, to prepare. Clouds grow not merely as masses of vapor but as delicate structures, each droplet a participant in the patient choreography of the atmosphere. By the time the first raindrop falls, it carries not just moisture, but the history of continents, oceans, and winds. It carries the invisible scaffolding of life itself. The sky, in its quiet, meticulous way, has done its work, and the world below waits in anticipation. Look up and notice the clouds drifting across the sky, heavy with stories you cannot yet read. They seem light, floating effortlessly, but each carries a hidden burden, the weight of countless droplets, each formed around a tiny nucleus, each suspended by invisible currents. The The sky is deceptively strong, holding aloft what the earth below will soon receive. This is the weight of wonder, the delicate balance between the invisible and the tangible, between what is anticipated and what will inevitably arrive. Every droplet has a beginning. Some are born from oceans, rising with a sigh as heat lifts them skyward. Others emerge from soil, from lakes, from rivers, carried by winds that know no borders. They cling to particles, dust, pollen, salt, each a tiny anchor in the vast expanse above. Alone, a droplet is insignificant, nearly weightless. Together, they gather, forming a congregation of moisture, a community awaiting gravity's invitation. The sky bears their weight silently, a vast invisible hand holding them until the moment of release. The air around these droplets is not empty. It is alive with motion, currents swirling and twisting, carrying tiny architects on invisible highways. Warmth rises from the earth, cools as it climbs, shaping the clouds in patterns both random and deliberate. Updrafts lift some droplets higher, while others remain lower, circling in a gentle dance. The interplay of forces is subtle yet precise. Too little support and the droplets would fall prematurely. Too much and the clouds would never release their bounty. Nature's equilibrium is delicate, yet resilient, a constant negotiation between weight and suspension. Now imagine the clouds as living beings, breathing softly in the atmosphere. Each droplet presses against its neighbors, nudging, jostling, finding its place in the unseen lattice of moisture. Some droplets are destined to merge, growing larger as they combine, while others remain small, patiently waiting their turn. There is no rush. Time in the sky is measured differently, in the slow accumulation of vapor and the careful orchestration of currents. The weight they carry is invisible to the eye, but you can sense it in the tension of the clouds, in the hushed promise of impending rain. The earth, below, seems unaware of this delicate choreography, yet it relies on it. Rivers, forests, crops, cities, all await the sky's careful generosity. The droplets, tiny as they are, hold life within them. Each one has traveled from a distant place, gathering momentum and substance, carrying the essence of water's journey through the atmosphere. By the time it falls, a single drop may contain the memory of continents, oceans, deserts, and storms, a fleeting witness to the vast cycle of life. The weight they carry is more than physical. It is history, potential, and connection. Consider the sound of rain as it finally reaches you. Each drop is a punctuation, a delicate note released from the unseen score above. The weight of the clouds transforms into a symphony of sound, gentle or insistent, tapping on rooftops, pattering on leaves, splashing into puddles. You feel it not just with your ears but with your whole being. The culmination of patience, of suspension, of countless microscopic acts of adhesion and growth. The sky's burden has become a gift, a reminder that even immense weight can be carried gracefully, invisibly, until it is ready to transform. There is wonder in this process because it is quiet, almost imperceptible. The world often equates effort with visible struggle, but in the sky, the effort is hidden. Currents lift, droplets cling, nuclei anchor, and vapor gathers, all without display. The clouds bear their weight silently, performing a labor of love that sustains life below. And in this quiet labor, there is a lesson, that the most profound forces often work in ways unseen, and that wonder is measured not by spectacle, but by the patient fulfillment of purpose. The weight of wonder is also a weight of possibility. Not every droplet will fall immediately. Some will drift across the sky, carried far from their origin, joining clouds that travel thousands of miles. Each one carries potential for growth, for joining with others, for becoming rain that nourishes life. Clouds can wander for days, even weeks, shaping themselves according to the unseen currents, balancing the weight of what they carry with the readiness of the earth below. Their journey is as much about timing as it is about mass, as much about balance as it is about abundance. And yet, when the first drops descend, the weight is lifted in a moment of release. Gravity takes its share, but the clouds remain, continuing their silent work, readying for the next gathering, the next accumulation, the next miracle of rainfall. The cycle repeats, endlessly, rhythmically, like a heartbeat of the atmosphere. You can feel this rhythm if you listen closely. The tension, the waiting, the eventual sigh of release. It is the weight of wonder made tangible, visible, audible, felt deep within your awareness. So, the next time you watch the sky, notice the clouds not just as shapes, but as carriers of countless tiny wonders. Each droplet is a testament to patience, each nucleus a silent architect. Together, they carry the weight of the sky with grace and precision, transforming the invisible into the tangible, the suspended into the flowing. Rain is not sudden nor random. It is the culmination of careful, quiet labor, the perfect release of wonder held just long enough for life below to benefit from its descent. And in that moment, as the rain begins to fall, you can feel the weight shift, not as a burden, but as a gift. The sky, in its quiet, patient labor, reminds you that even the heaviest weight, carried with purpose and care, can become a source of joy, nourishment, and wonder. Above you, the sky is a living manuscript, its words written in currents, pressure, and invisible lines of tension. Storms are not sudden nor arbitrary. They are whispered into being by the careful orchestration of the atmosphere. Like a silent storyteller, the air remembers the world's warmth and cold, measuring the moment when it must release its secrets. You can feel it in the hush before the first drop falls, in the heaviness that presses subtly against your skin, a prelude to the ballet about to begin. Weather is a language of forces, each speaking in its own dialect. High-pressure systems hold the air tightly, pressing downward, keeping clouds suspended and droplets restrained. Low-pressure systems lift the atmosphere gently, coaxing moisture upward, inviting the clouds to gather and grow. The meeting of these forces creates boundaries, invisible yet decisive, where warm air rises to meet cool air, and the tension between them swells until the first sigh of rain escapes. Fronts are more than lines on a map. They are the storylines of the sky, carefully plotted by the Earth's rotation and the sun's warmth. Convection currents rise like secret messengers from the Earth below, carrying warmth, moisture, and momentum into the clouds above. These currents twist and spiral, shaping the architecture of storms, dictating where and when rainfall will emerge. The jet streams, swift and hidden, guide these elements across continents, determining the choreography of storms long before you feel them on your skin. The atmosphere, though invisible, is precise. It knows the timing, the place, and the perfect cadence for rain. Imagine the sky as a patient conductor. Each cloud is an instrument, each droplet a note. The air itself breathes in slow, deliberate rhythms, holding its music until the moment is just right. Too soon, and the symphony collapses. Too late, and the earth waits in thirst. This timing is invisible to most eyes, yet you can sense it. The subtle shift in wind, the deepening of color in the clouds, the hush of distant trees. These are the prelude. Nature's patience is exacting, measured in currents and pressure, yet delivered with effortless grace. Storms often travel, not in haste, but guided by ancient forces. Mountains lift air to cool it, deserts release heat to stir it, oceans exhale moisture into the sky. The interaction of these forces is delicate, a negotiation of energy and balance. The sky's decisions are subtle. The first raindrops may arrive far from the storm's origin, carried by winds and guided by unseen streams. You feel the storm as an echo of distant movements, a message sent across landscapes in vapor and motion, translating hidden physics into the familiar language of rain. Timing is everything. A storm may linger, circling slowly over a valley, releasing droplets in a measured cadence. Elsewhere, a sudden deluge may arrive, a release so precise it nourishes parched soil without washing it away. This is the wisdom of the sky, the knowledge that each place, each moment, has its own rhythm, its own readiness. The clouds remember not only the earth beneath but the forces that shape them. Heat from the sun, moisture from the oceans, the gentle push of a passing jet stream. They are keepers of time, releasing water when and where it is most needed. There is poetry in this secret timing. Rainfall is a message, spoken not in words, but in droplets and currents. It arrives when the earth is ready, when seeds need to swell, when rivers hunger for nourishment. It is choreography invisible to the eye, yet perfectly synchronized, each movement a calculated gesture, a gift of balance and life. You cannot command it, but you can feel it, in the pause before the first drops, in the scent of damp earth, in the soft patter against leaves. The storm whispers its arrival, inviting you to witness its precision. Even in storms that rage with fury, there is timing and intent. Lightning arcs along paths determined by the distribution of charge, thunder follows with a steady interval, and rain falls in torrents that mirror the storm's energy. Every element obeys invisible laws, yet within those laws lies freedom, the freedom of clouds to grow, of droplets to merge, of wind to sculpt the storm's path. It is a paradox of control and release, of planning and spontaneity, that the atmosphere navigates with perfection. As you listen to a storm, feel the weight of this orchestration. Each gust, each drop, each flicker of light is part of a sequence that began far beyond your vision, shaped by forces spanning continents and oceans. The earth and sky are in constant conversation, exchanging heat, pressure, and moisture, writing a narrative of timing that stretches beyond your senses. Rain is the punctuation, the carefully placed pause that allows the story to unfold, the fulfillment of a promise written in invisible currents. Storms remind us that the world is patient, that timing is precise even when unseen, and that every drop is a result of forces larger than ourselves. The atmosphere, in its quiet deliberation, shows how nature's secrets are held in balance, revealed only when the moment is right. And when the first drops fall, you can feel both the weight of waiting and the joy of release. The sky, at last, sharing its hidden knowledge, in a language older than time, and as intimate as the rhythm of your own breath. Rain does not fall uniformly. It dances differently over every landscape, as if each place has its own song, its own invitation for the water to linger, to embrace, to nourish. Mountains catch clouds like open hands, lifting the mist to cool it, forcing droplets to condense in what meteorologists call orographic lift. Here, rain comes gently at first, then with a steady insistence, tumbling down slopes, spilling over rocks, feeding hidden streams, giving life to alpine meadows and mossy forests. The mountains shape the rain, and the rain shapes the mountains, in an endless dialogue of touch and response. Across vast oceans, rain is more patient. It gathers quietly from evaporation, forming clouds heavy with the taste of salt and warmth. Monsoons sweep in, a rhythmic surge of water across distant lands, as though the sea itself exhales, sending sustenance far inland. The smell of the ocean mingles with the scent of falling rain, a deep, briny perfume that awakens the senses. Each drop is a messenger from afar, traveling thousands of miles to quench the soil, to revive parched roots, to create rivers where only dust and sun had ruled before. Deserts, by contrast, experience rain as a rare and dramatic visitor. When it comes, it is a sudden, breathtaking gesture, transforming arid sands into mirrors of sky. Each drop falls with urgency, filling hidden basins and ephemeral streams, giving life to seeds long dormant. The rainfall is brief, intense, yet its impact echoes for weeks. Even in the harshest terrain, rain follows its own wisdom, delivering precisely what is needed, when it is needed, and leaving behind the quiet aftermath that invites reflection on scarcity, abundance, and patience. Cities, too, have their own rainfall character. Urban heat islands warm the air above buildings and streets, creating local convection currents that draw clouds closer, intensifying storms in small pockets. Rain here is a mosaic, some streets drenched, others barely touched. It hisses against pavement, drips from fire escapes, pools and gutters, and splashes against rooftops. The familiar smell of wet asphalt rises, a fragrance unique to human habitats. Here, rain tells stories of adaptation, of humanity's coexistence with nature, reminding us that even concrete and steel cannot escape the sky's embrace. Across all these landscapes, Rain carries the memory of where it has been. Droplets formed over oceans may fall first on mountains, then sweep into valleys, finally reaching the plains. The journey is intimate and deliberate, each drop aware of its path, each cloud balancing moisture, wind, and pressure in a subtle choreography. Life adapts to these rhythms. Plants open and close their leaves, animals seek shelter or forage, and humans pause, noticing the gentle percussion on rooftops, the sparkle of puddles, the scent of wet earth rising to greet them. There is poetry in this diversity. Rain is never the same twice. It has the subtlety to whisper in a meadow, the energy to rush through a canyon, the intimacy to trace the streets of a city. Each landscape receives the rain uniquely, just as each person experiences it differently. Imagine standing on a hilltop as droplets begin to fall. In the mountains, the water cools your skin and trickles through pine needles. On the desert sand, it hisses and vanishes, leaving a faint scent of mineral earth. In the city, it drums against the pavements and glimmers on car roofs. The same rain, yet 1,000 experiences, 1,000 whispers, 1,000 small miracles. The science behind these patterns is elegant and intricate. Orographic lift, monsoons, microclimates, urban heat islands, each term is a key to understanding how rain interacts with landforms. Yet beyond the mechanics, the experience is something deeply human. Rain is a messenger, a storyteller that adapts to its audience. It is the same water that fell from clouds over distant oceans, but here it is intimate, local, tangible. The earth listens, and we, too, can listen, feeling the variation, the rhythm, the intention behind every drop. Rain teaches awareness of place. Mountains remind you to notice elevation and slope. Deserts remind you of patience and scarcity. Oceans remind you of expansiveness and movement. Cities remind you of adaptation and rhythm. Each landscape interprets the sky differently. Each terrain shapes the rainfall, and each listener receives it uniquely. Rain is both universal and personal, a single element that weaves together all environments, yet whispers differently to each one. In this chapter of the sky's story, you begin to sense the intimacy of rain. It is not merely water falling. It is a dance, a dialogue, a conversation between clouds and land. Every landscape has its own steps, its own tempo, its own signature. When you walk through a meadow, feel the gentle drumming of raindrops on grass. When you traverse a city street, notice the splash of puddles and the shine of wet pavement. When you stand atop a mountain or gaze at the desert's horizon, inhale the scent, listen to the rhythm, feel the rain's unique embrace. The earth is speaking, and rain is its voice, attuned to every curve, slope, and surface. And so, with each rainfall, you are invited to witness 1,000 quiet miracles. The mountain stream swelling, the desert seed awakening, the city puddle reflecting sky, the ocean's breath returning home. Rain is never generic. It is a tailored touch, a personalized whisper, a gift delivered in careful timing to every corner of the world. Across landscapes, it is a constant reminder that life adapts, endures, and celebrates the delicate choreography of water and land. Rain has a language all its own, and its voice is never silent. Each drop carries a rhythm, a texture, a subtle tone that changes with size, speed, and the surface it meets. The moment water leaves the sky, it begins a journey of sound, a conversation between gravity, air, and earth itself. Some drops are tiny, almost imperceptible, tapping lightly on leaves, whispering a delicate cadence. Others fall heavy, pattering on rooftops and pavement with a resonant heartbeat that pulses through the air. Together, these sounds form a symphony, a lullaby, a music that is alive and ever-changing. The acoustics of rainfall are as varied as the landscapes it touches. A leaf absorbs water differently than stone. A puddle rings with a hollow clarity, while a metal roof sings a sharper, more vibrant note. Tiny droplets splashing on soil create a soft, damp murmur, while larger drops on water shimmer with glistening resonance, a sound that carries across ponds and rivers. Even the rhythm of the rain tells a story. Gentle drizzle for reflection, a sudden burst for excitement, steady rain for calm continuity. In this way, the sky composes melodies, each storm unique, each shower a fleeting concert. Imagine standing under a canopy of trees as rain begins. The leaves catch and scatter the droplets, creating a delicate, crystalline tinkling, almost like 1,000 tiny wind chimes stirred by invisible hands. Some drops trickle down branches, forming rivulets that join unseen streams, the sound low and rolling, a deep counterpoint to the higher notes of falling water. Listen closely, and you realize that each surface has a voice of its own. Each interaction, air to leaf, water to stone, drop to puddle, is part of a harmonious network, a symphony composed by the natural world. Rainfall also carries its own spatial quality. On rooftops, the sound is immediate, enclosed, and rhythmic. In open fields, it spreads, echoing slightly, overlapping with distant streams and rustling grass. In caves or between canyon walls, rain can amplify, bouncing between stone surfaces, creating a deep, immersive resonance that seems to vibrate through the very air. Every environment reshapes the sound, giving the same droplets different personalities and tones. The earth itself is a kind of instrument, and rain is both player and composer. Even in urban spaces, the music of rain persists. Puddles ripple with the impact of each drop, gutter water hurries with a subtle, flowing murmur, and rooftops drum with regular, punctuated patterns. Asphalt, concrete, and metal surfaces each produce their own timbre, and the combined effect is a complex, layered percussion. Car tires on wet streets add occasional improvisation, yet the overarching theme remains. The sky's song guiding the city's rhythm, reminding inhabitants that life continues beyond human activity, that nature is always at work, creating beauty and order in sound. The size of a raindrop matters immensely. Tiny droplets produce soft, frequent tapping, almost like whispering. Medium droplets strike with clear, defined notes, punctuating the quiet. Large raindrops fall with authority, splashing dramatically, commanding attention. Scientists measure these effects, noting how droplet size, height, and wind speed shape the resulting sound waves. The impact produces vibrations that our ears perceive differently depending on frequency, surface texture, and distance. Yet beyond these technicalities lies the deeper experience, listening. Simply listening to rain allows the mind to become attuned to patterns, subtleties, and shifts that might otherwise pass unnoticed. Rain's music can be meditative, almost hypnotic. Close your eyes and imagine the layering of sounds. A light drizzle tapping leaves overhead, a stream trickling nearby, a sudden splash as a heavier drop strikes a puddle. Each element contributes to a spatial tapestry, a gentle immersion of sound and rhythm. Our brains respond to these natural patterns, often reducing stress, calming the nervous system, and inviting reflection. The rain becomes more than weather. It becomes a guide, leading attention toward the present moment, toward stillness, toward connection with the earth. In forests, the sound can be soft and enveloping, almost like a whispered conversation between trees and sky. In urban alleys, it is sharper, more punctuated, reflecting the geometry of human structures. On a rooftop, it is intimate, a private concert for those who pause to notice. By listening carefully, you may begin to distinguish individual droplets, recognize the difference between rain on grass, stone, and metal, and feel a quiet sense of wonder at how the same element can create infinite variety. Rain is also a composer of rhythm over time. A steady shower can lull you into gentle meditation, each drop a metronome marking a slow passage of time. A sudden storm excites the senses, demanding awareness of each sound and movement. And in the moments between, when drops fall sporadically, there is space for imagination. A pause, a breath, a quiet moment to notice the subtle textures of the world. This interplay of rhythm and silence mirrors life itself, teaching awareness, patience, and appreciation. Finally, let the rain teach you to listen inwardly. As droplets strike the earth, imagine them tracing invisible lines across your mind, leaving tiny echoes of calm. The music of rainfall is both external and internal. It resonates through the environment and within your consciousness. Close your eyes, and you may feel the cadence of water shaping your thoughts, guiding attention gently, inviting relaxation, and creating space for quiet reflection. Each drop becomes a note in a symphony that exists both around you and within you. Rain is not merely water. It is sound, rhythm, poetry, and music. Each drop contributes to a score composed over oceans, mountains, cities, deserts, and forests. The next time rain falls, pause and listen. Hear the tapping of leaves, the patter on rooftops, the splash into puddles, the rumble of distant storm. Each sound is a story, a secret, a gentle communication from the sky. The music of rainfall is infinite, subtle, and deeply alive. A symphony that celebrates the quiet power of water and the artistry of the earth itself. Rain does more than fall, it awakens. It stirs life in ways both subtle and profound, touching every leaf, stone, and creature with quiet intention. Plants lean into it, their leaves catching droplets like tiny cups of nourishment. Soil drinks greedily, each pore swelling with water that will soon rise again, feeding roots and stems, allowing life to stretch and grow. In the hush of rainfall, the world feels attentive, alive, waiting, and responding to the pulse of water that flows through it. Consider the plants. After a long dry spell, the first drops are electric, almost magical. Mosses swell and glisten, ferns unfurl with soft sighs, and petals shake off dust to shine anew. Roots, hidden beneath the soil, detect the moisture and send signals upward. Growth accelerates in quiet harmony, as if the earth itself whispers encouragement. Transpiration begins in earnest, and a new cycle of nourishment spins gently in rhythm with the rain. For plants, each drop is a messenger, a signal of abundance, a subtle heartbeat that guides the next movement of life. Animals, too, are attuned to this signal. Birds fluff their feathers and take flight, either to enjoy the cleansing mist or to seek shelter before a downpour intensifies. Insects emerge or hide, sensing the safety or opportunity the rain provides. Earthworms come closer to the surface, feeling the softening soil, the promise of movement and feeding. Even larger mammals shift their behavior, slowing steps in drizzle, sprinting when showers become torrents, finding water to drink or mud to cool their bodies. The quiet choreography of nature adjusts to rainfall, an instinctive response to a rhythm older than memory. Humans, though often removed from direct dependence on rain, feel its influence profoundly. There is a subtle shift in the air that affects mood, a release of tension, a sense of calm, a gentle lowering of the pulse. The sound of falling water triggers neurological responses, increasing serotonin, the chemical that lifts spirits and encourages reflection. Memories and emotions may surface, linked to the scent of wet earth or the soft touch of rain against skin. Our minds, like the wider environment, respond to these signals with readiness, adaptation, and quiet joy. Even in cities, rain brings pause. The pedestrian slows, umbrellas open, traffic slows, and for a brief while, the urban pulse aligns with nature's own rhythm. Life's response to rain is not merely physical but deeply emotional and instinctive. Plants, animals, and humans alike seem to sense the invisible hand of the water cycle, feeling both comfort and expectation. The air becomes scented with petrichor, the earthy aroma of rain striking dry ground, and with it comes a shared understanding that the world is sustaining itself, that water, the elixir of life, flows freely to nurture, cleanse, and renew. Rain is the earth's caretaker, a quiet agent that ensures life continues, harmonizing the needs of every living being, large and small. Even the smallest creatures orchestrate their responses in ways that reflect deep awareness. Spiders adjust their webs, positioning them to capture the next droplets or to avoid damage. Snails and slugs emerge to feed on leaves softened by rain, their movements slow and deliberate, guided by moisture sensing. Ants retreat to dry chambers or adjust foraging strategies, responding to environmental cues that humans may barely notice. The natural world is alive with quiet intelligence, each organism tuned to the rhythm of rainfall, participating in an intricate, invisible dance. Rain also influences migration, reproduction, and feeding cycles. Amphibians, sensing wet conditions, emerge to breed. Birds detect storms on distant horizons, altering their flight paths. Even fish respond to water levels rising in streams, anticipating food availability and spawning opportunities. Each response is a testament to evolution, a finely tuned sensitivity to water's life-giving presence. Rain is not random. It is a messenger, and all living beings know how to listen. There is an emotional resonance in these interactions, a sense that rain nurtures more than physical growth. It nurtures connection, awareness, and resilience. Life thrives not just because water nourishes tissues and soil, but because it signals cycles, continuity, and care. For humans, this can be a moment of reflection. Observing how animals adapt, how plants respond, how the world collectively breathes and shifts in response to rain. In these moments, we can feel a subtle kinship with every living being, bound together by a single, sustaining element. The rain's influence is also transformative. Seeds lying dormant in soil awaken, soil microbes flourish, and nutrient cycles accelerate. Fallen leaves decompose more readily, releasing minerals that enrich the earth. Streams swell, nourishing fish and replenishing wetlands. Even the simplest puddle becomes a microhabitat, a small, vibrant world teeming with life, reflecting the sky above while sustaining creatures below. Rain is both sustenance and signal, shaping life in ways both obvious and invisible. Humans often feel the touch of rain emotionally before physically. The first drizzle can inspire pause, reflection, or nostalgia. Walking barefoot in soft rain, listening to its rhythm, inhaling its scent, can create a sense of alignment with the natural world. Emotions, memories, and mindfulness converge in these moments, mirroring the responses of animals and plants. Rain becomes a teacher, a caretaker, a gentle guide, inviting presence and awareness. Ultimately, life's response to rain is universal, timeless, and intimate. Every organism, from the smallest bacterium to the largest mammal, participates in a symphony of movement, growth, and awareness orchestrated by water. Every drop carries both nourishment and message, and every response contributes to the ongoing story of Earth. Rain reminds us that we are part of this living web, that our bodies, emotions, and actions are subtly intertwined with forces larger than ourselves. By observing, listening, and feeling, we participate in life's response, becoming aware of the quiet, constant care that surrounds and sustains us. As you close your eyes and imagine rainfall, picture how each drop touches a leaf, a bird, a worm, a child, a city street. Feel the invisible pulse that connects all living beings. Let the sound, smell, and motion of rain guide your thoughts gently. Life responds, and in turn, we too can respond with gratitude, attentiveness, and a calm understanding of our place within the intricate choreography of water and earth. Rain is not merely a meteorological event. It is a dialogue, a caretaker, a rhythm of life. And every time it falls, every living being, from the hidden root to the soaring bird, from the crawling snail to the wandering human, feels its influence, adjusts, rejoices, and continues, quietly in harmony with the eternal pulse of water. Rain does not only touch the world outside. It reaches inward, into the landscapes of the mind. Each drop that falls becomes a gentle messenger, a whisper that invites reflection, calm, and imagination. The patter of rain on rooftops, leaves, or windows becomes more than sound. It becomes rhythm, echoing patterns of thought, memory, and feeling. In these moments, the mind begins to respond as the earth does, with attention, with subtle shifts, with quiet awareness. The human brain is deeply attuned to the presence of rain. Neuroscience shows that the gentle, continuous sound of falling water can increase serotonin, promoting relaxation and well-being. Anxiety softens, focus sharpens, and a meditative stillness often emerges, as if the mind itself is breathing in tandem with the rhythm of rainfall. Each drop becomes a tiny cue, a metronome guiding neural pathways toward calm. Thoughts slow, clarity grows, and the ordinary noise of life fades beneath the soft percussion of droplets. Rain also evokes memory. The scent of wet earth, the cool touch of water, or the sight of mist drifting across a landscape can stir recollections both vivid and gentle. A child's laughter under a drizzle, a quiet moment by a window, the smell of soil after the first monsoon shower, all return to consciousness as if rain itself carries time within its drops. The mind, like the environment, responds to cues that are physical and emotional simultaneously, blending sensation with recollection, external with internal. Imagination blooms in the presence of rain. A gray sky becomes a canvas. Puddles reflect possibilities. The brain, sensing gentle patterns in the rainfall, can wander freely, crafting stories, solutions, or dreams. Writers and artists often find inspiration in these moments. When the world outside is softened and slowed by precipitation, thoughts flow more fluidly, like water itself, tracing curves, reflecting light, and sometimes pooling into insight. Each drop, each rhythm, becomes a small brushstroke on the canvas of the mind. Psychology suggests that humans are predisposed to respond positively to water. Its sounds and movements signal life, sustenance, and safety, remnants of evolutionary instincts that once guided survival. A steady rain can reduce stress and foster concentration, encouraging the mind to focus or to drift without worry. Raindrops, in this way, act as both anchor and release, guiding attention while permitting gentle surrender. They are simultaneously instruction and invitation, both structure and freedom. The mind also perceives rain as a form of time itself. Each drop is fleeting, each sound momentary, and yet collectively they form a continuous, unfolding rhythm. Listening to rainfall can become a meditation on impermanence and presence. Thoughts arise and dissolve, much like droplets striking leaves, forming rivulets and vanishing. The mind experiences this continuity and impermanence simultaneously, and in doing so, discovers a quiet harmony with the world outside. Rain stimulates creativity and reflection in subtle, almost imperceptible ways. Patterns emerge in the mind, inspired by patterns in the rain. The randomness of drops, the predictable arcs of streams, and the resonance of falling water can all influence thinking, encouraging associative connections that might not occur in silence or in dry monotony. Ideas ripple outward like concentric circles in puddles, expanding gently across consciousness. In this, the mind mirrors nature, responsive, adaptive, and deeply connected to rhythm. Emotional states are also touched by rainfall. For some, it evokes nostalgia, for others, serenity. The mind may experience a sense of waiting, expectation, or quiet joy, paralleling the anticipation of growth in the natural world. Just as seeds sense water and stir toward life, the mind senses rain and stirs toward reflection. Raindrops become small teachers, revealing subtle truths about patience, timing, and attention. Every sensation, the tap on a window pane, the weight of moisture in the air, the scent of damp earth, becomes a note in a symphony of awareness. Meditation with rain can be simple yet profound. Close your eyes and listen. Notice each drop as it lands, each rhythm as it emerges. Feel its passage from perception into consciousness. Notice the way thoughts shift with each sound, perhaps slowing, perhaps flowing more freely. Rain becomes a mirror for thought, a gentle pause in the ceaseless motion of the mind, a reminder that even fleeting moments can carry depth, clarity, and beauty. Rain also invites empathy with the larger world. As the mind internalizes patterns of precipitation, we begin to sense the lives of other beings responding similarly. Birds, plants, humans, animals, all engage with water in instinctive and reflective ways. Observing or imagining this interconnectedness fosters a quiet sense of belonging. The mind perceives not only itself but also its connection to life beyond its borders, a microcosm of larger cycles. Ultimately, rain in the mind teaches presence. It encourages listening, feeling, remembering, imagining, and understanding. It invites the quiet acknowledgement of impermanence, the beauty of rhythm, and the gentle pulse of life that connects all beings. Each drop becomes a symbol, fleeting yet meaningful, transient yet nourishing. As we tune our awareness to its cadence, we find not only calm but also insight, connection, and the soft assurance that our thoughts, like rainfall, can flow, nourish, and renew. So, as the rain falls outside, let it fall inside as well. Let each drop touch a thought, a memory, an emotion. Allow your mind to respond as life does, with attention, with sensitivity, with quiet joy. Notice the patterns, hear the rhythms, feel the textures. In this reflective listening, you discover the secret language of raindrops in the mind, a language that is at once gentle, timeless, and profoundly alive. Rain is never lost. Every drop that falls carries the story of its journey, moving through Earth's systems with a quiet inevitability. From the sky to the soil, from rivers to oceans, from vapor to cloud, water moves in a rhythm as old as the planet itself. This is the cycle of return, a constant, flowing reminder that life, like rain, moves in circles, connecting every corner of Earth in an unbroken chain. The journey begins with evaporation. Sunlight warms lakes, rivers, and oceans, pulling water upward into the atmosphere. Tiny droplets rise, invisible, weightless, merging with others to form clouds. Here, in these high, floating reservoirs, rain pauses, gathering potential until gravity calls it back to the surface. Evaporation is subtle yet relentless, a gentle lifting of liquid into air, an invitation for water to continue its dance through time and space. Clouds travel, carried by winds and jet streams, tracing paths determined by global currents. They drift over mountains, deserts, oceans, and cities, shaping the future of rainfall. Some clouds hold their treasures tightly, releasing only mist, while others pour torrents upon landscapes that await hydration. Each precipitation event is choreographed by unseen forces, pressure systems, temperature gradients, and the silent pull of gravity. The cycle of return is not random. It is structured, deliberate, and exquisitely timed. When rain falls, it begins a new journey on land. Some water nourishes soil, sinking into the earth to replenish groundwater. It travels slowly, hidden from view, feeding springs, wells, and underground streams. Other drops rush along rivers and streams, cascading toward lakes and oceans. In these travels, rain reshapes landscapes, carves valleys, and nourishes life. Every movement is part of the great rhythm of hydrology, the pulse of a living planet. Mountains hold a special role in this cycle. Orographic lift forces clouds to rise, cooling the air and releasing precipitation. Valleys capture water that flows gently into streams, while plains spread it across wide expanses, where plants and animals eagerly await the gift. Even deserts, in their rare storms, experience the life-giving force of rainfall. Water moves in accordance with the contours of the earth, each drop following paths dictated by gravity and terrain, returning where it is needed most. The cycle extends beyond local landscapes. Rivers carry water to seas and oceans, connecting continents in an invisible network. From the Amazon to the Nile, from the Mississippi to the Ganges, each river is a thread in a vast web of movement. Rain falling in one place may eventually return in another, transformed into vapor again, joining clouds that drift thousands of miles. The water cycle is a story of connectivity, a reminder that no drop exists in isolation. Human activity now shapes this cycle as well. Cities alter runoff patterns, dams hold rivers in check, and climate change influences precipitation and evaporation rates. Yet, despite these interventions, the fundamental rhythm persists. Water continues to circulate, reminding us that life is resilient, that cycles endure, and that balance can be restored through understanding and care. Rain's journey is timeless, echoing the natural law that everything returns, everything flows, everything connects. The water cycle also mirrors the cycles within our own lives. Just as rain rises, falls, nourishes, and returns, so do our experiences, emotions, and memories. There are seasons of growth, of waiting, of release, and of renewal. Observing the cycle of rain encourages reflection on these personal patterns, revealing that life itself is a continuous flow, an interplay of ascent and descent, of arrival and return. Each drop becomes a metaphor, a gentle lesson in impermanence, continuity, and interconnectedness. Rain teaches patience and timing. Evaporation cannot be rushed. Rivers cannot flow faster than their channels allow. Clouds release their moisture when conditions are right, not when demanded. Nature models the rhythm of return, showing that timing is as important as action, that release follows preparation, and that cycles must complete before renewal can occur. Observing water in its endless movement fosters mindfulness, helping the mind attune to natural rhythms and the quiet intelligence of Earth. Even the smallest droplet participates in this vast cycle. A single raindrop that lands on a leaf may evaporate again, be absorbed into the soil, or join a stream heading for the sea. In every possibility, it is part of a larger whole, connected to life and landscapes far beyond itself. This teaches us that each action, however small, contributes to greater systems, human, ecological, or cosmic. Rain's cycle is both micro and macro, intimate and universal. Finally, the cycle of return reminds us of hope and continuity. No matter the dryness of a season, water will eventually rise, clouds will gather, and rain will fall. Life persists, nourished by rhythms older than memory. By observing and attuning to these cycles, we learn to see our place within the larger flow, to recognize patterns, and to trust the slow, unfolding choreography of the natural world. Rain is both a gift and a teacher, endlessly returning, endlessly sustaining, endlessly connecting all things. As you listen to rain or watch it fall, imagine the journey of each drop. Its rise from sea and river, its drift on the wind, its descent upon mountains and valleys, its journey through soil and stream, and its inevitable return. Each drop carries stories of where it has been and where it will go, a reminder that life itself flows in cycles, that every ending becomes a beginning, and that in the rhythm of water, the earth whispers timeless truths about continuity, connection, and renewal. Even when the sky seems calm, the atmosphere is never still. Invisible currents swirl, pressure zones shift, and clouds gather quietly, holding secrets of rain yet to fall. The next storm is always in preparation, a whisper of water and wind, a message written in air and temperature, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. To understand a storm is to listen to Earth's subtle language, to read patterns that are both scientific and poetic, and to sense the future in the rhythm of the sky. Meteorologists trace these signals with instruments and models. Satellites scan cloud formations, radar maps the density and motion of precipitation, and sensors measure temperature, pressure, and humidity. Yet even with technology, predicting the exact moment and place of rainfall remains a delicate balance between known forces and chance. The atmosphere is a vast, breathing system, and storms are its stories, told in flashes of lightning, in gusts of wind, and in drops that descend upon the land. Storms are shaped by countless factors. Pressure systems push and pull, creating zones of ascent where clouds can grow tall and dense. Jet streams carve invisible paths across continents, steering clouds and influencing timing. Convection currents lift warm, moist air from the surface, feeding energy into the system. Mountains force air to rise, triggering rain, while oceans provide endless moisture. Every element interacts with others, a dynamic choreography that results in the exact moment of rainfall. Nature's timing is impeccable. Climate change now adds new layers to this story. Warmer air holds more water, intensifying storms in some regions while leaving others drier. Ocean currents shift, altering rainfall patterns across continents. Human activity, through greenhouse gases and land use changes, nudges the timing and intensity of storms in ways we are only beginning to understand. Even so, storms persist. They remind us that Earth continues its dialogue with itself, that rain, wind, and cloud are voices in an ongoing conversation, speaking truths older than civilization. Storms are also messages to the living. Plants sense atmospheric changes, preparing to bloom or conserve resources. Animals adjust behavior, seeking shelter or moving toward nourishment. Humans, too, respond, anticipating, preparing, marveling. In this way, A storm is more than a meteorological event. It is a connector, a signal of life's interdependence. Each cloud that gathers carries the weight of potential, the promise of renewal, the silent instruction of the natural world. Reading the sky requires patience and attunement. The shifting color of clouds, the pressure in the air, the scent of approaching rain, all are signs of the storm to come. In old traditions, farmers and sailors learned these lessons intuitively, observing nature's subtle cues to guide planting or navigation. Modern science quantifies these patterns, yet the essence remains. The storm arrives not randomly, but in dialogue with Earth's rhythms. Listening closely, one can sense the pulse of rainfall before it touches the ground. Even small actions can influence storms, though subtly. Cloud seeding can encourage precipitation, while changes in land use affect runoff and local weather. Yet the broader patterns of nature are resilient, flowing according to laws that surpass human intention. Storms remind us of humility, teaching that while we can measure and anticipate, we are participants in a system far greater than ourselves. Water, air, and energy interact with patience and precision, revealing truths that cannot be rushed. Storms also hold hope. Each drop carries the possibility of growth, of replenishing soil and rivers. In arid lands, a sudden shower transforms the landscape, coaxing seeds to life and filling reservoirs. Even in floods, water cycles back, reminding us that destruction is part of renewal, and that resilience is embedded in the rhythm of the planet. Every storm is a rehearsal of continuity, a signal that Earth remains alive, responding, and sustaining life in ways both predictable and mysterious. The secret of the next storm lies in understanding cycles and patterns, in recognizing that rain is not random but the product of forces unseen. It is a story written in humidity, temperature, wind, and pressure, unfolding according to Earth's timing. The storm is both science and poetry, a natural event, a messenger, a mirror for our awareness. Watching clouds gather, listening to the first drops, feeling the wind shift, all these moments are invitations to witness the choreography of life, orchestrated in the atmosphere above. As the storm arrives, there is a sense of arrival and expectation. Lightning flashes, thunder rolls, and rainfall begins its descent, tracing paths that have been mapped in air and energy long before the first drop touches Earth. The secret was never hidden, only waiting for the right alignment of forces, the perfect conditions for revelation. Each storm is a demonstration of timing, a reminder that patience, observation, and respect for nature's processes yield insight into the rhythms that sustain our world. And as the rain falls, we can imagine the cycle continuing. Drops nourish soil, feed rivers, evaporate back into clouds, and travel once more across the skies, perpetuating a pattern that has existed for millennia. The secret of the next storm is also a lesson for life. There is a rhythm to all things, a timing that unfolds beyond our control, a continuity that promises renewal, connection, and the quiet, steady pulse of the Earth itself. As the final drops fade into memory, we can sit quietly with the echoes of rain still lingering in our minds. Every storm, every gentle drizzle, every rhythmic patter has told its story, weaving science and poetry into a single, invisible thread that connects the sky, the earth, and ourselves. Rain teaches patience, reminding us that life flows in cycles, sometimes slow, sometimes sudden, always purposeful. It nourishes the soil beneath our feet, the rivers that carry life, and the hearts that pause to listen. In its fall, we hear both endings and beginnings, moments of reflection and renewal. Carry this calm with you, letting the gentle pulse of rainfall linger in thought and breath. Let it remind you that even when clouds seem distant, the world moves in harmony, and nature's quiet choreography continues, unseen but always felt. And whenever you hear the whisper of raindrops again, remember, you are part of the rhythm, part of the cycle, a listener to Earth's oldest, softest stories. The rain is never truly gone. It travels within you, a timeless meditation, a reminder of life's enduring flow.